Welcome to today's video. Today we are in the Subaru in its natural habitat on the way to the store to grab a 6-pack so we can reminisce on 2024. I got a lot done in 24. I got the Subaru Outback, which you might not even remember if you're new here. I got that thing finished and sold and made 800 bucks on it. I got the Volvo rebuilt completely and titled and everything. That was in 2024. I spent a week on the Bowron Lake Circuit, canoeing all the way around. That was a really good time and just a behemoth of a project to put together. We took the Volvo on a 1-week road trip down to Moab where we took it off-roading in some places that no Volvo has probably ever been before. We took the Crown Vic on the Gambler 500 and broke it and did the 6-hour drive home in 9 hours because it wouldn't shift out of second gear. We also pulled the engine out of the car that I'm driving right now, replaced some parts and put it back in, and well, I'm still driving the car, so that was a huge success. There was a bunch of other stuff in between that we'll get into, but let's grab that 6-pack and get into it. All right, beer acquired, let's head home. All right, we got some heat going in here, but it is still freezing. Let's talk 2024. First of all, let's talk some stats, because those are always fun. At least they are in my opinion. Like always with my videos, there's chapters down below if you want to skip around. In 2024, I got 22,229 views. In 2024, I gained 274 subscribers, which is most of my subscribers because I had just started in 2023. And up here near the front of the video, I want to thank everyone who subscribed, who jumped on early in 2024. If you subscribed before 2025, you were here early. Let's be honest, if you subscribe right now, you're still here early. Well, without further ado, let's get into the videos. But first I want to mention what I'm drinking tonight. It's a Top Cutter IPA by Bale Breaker. If you watch the channel much, you know that this is one of my favorites. All right, I am going to try and make this as quick as possible, but we have 52 videos to go through because I did make 52 videos in 2024. Actually, I think I might have made 53 because I made one extra one. So if I even just spend 5 minutes on each video, it will be well over 2 hours. So I need to keep this short. If you do want to watch everything that I did in 24, there is a playlist. That's just what I'm going to be going off of here. To start off the year, we made the video, My 40-Year-Old Oldsmobile Broke. And this was the 11th week that I'd been making videos, but because I was doing a 2-week thing at first, it was only actually like the 8th video that I've ever made as part of this series. For reference, this is weekly 67, which just means I've been doing this slightly over a year now. So some of these old videos are rough, but this one, I think the intro is actually pretty funny. Take a look. This week I worked on the Subaru's air compressor. No, that's not a thing. This week I worked on the Subaru's cruise control, the Goldwing's air compressor. Yes, my motorcycle has an air compressor, does yours not? And I discovered a slight issue with the Oldsmobile. It's a new noise. In between all of that excitement, whoa, ignore that last part. I used to put stuff like tech stuff, Home Assistant, my home server stuff on this channel. We don't do that here anymore. I discovered that it's really hard to make that stuff interesting. I find it fascinating. I know there's other people out there that do too, but to make an interesting video about it, it's really hard. You're gonna see that as a theme later in this video. So in this video, we replaced the Subaru Outback's cruise control. And if you didn't know, if you're new here, which a lot of people are right now, much thanks by the way, I had a Subaru Outback that I sold last year. I bought it and the Volvo XC70 at the same time. They were both salvage titles. I rebuilt both of them, got them back on the road. And well, obviously I liked the Volvo a lot better. It was a lot nicer. Plus a lot more interesting, though the Subaru Outback was a manual, so that was kind of nice. Honestly, there wasn't a lot this video. This was a 22-minute video and there's only like 4 things that I'd actually put into a video these days. That's kind of crazy. I'll just read through the chapters here. We've got a shop tidy, which I would include today, but I would have made the time lapse faster. We've got the Outback cruise control, which I'd put in the video today. I built a new keyboard, which is nerdy stuff, and I would not put that in a video today, that's for sure. I talked about a Windows Clean install, which caused me and my editing to be delayed. Well, I wouldn't put that in the video today, that's for sure. I did the Olds' tail light, which I might have put in the video today, though it's pretty simple. Did tabs and registration, might go in a video again, but it'd be just a lot shorter than it was back then. I talked about Zigbee and Home Assistant, which Home Assistant is kind of a home automation alternative to like Alexa. I find it fascinating again, but it's just not interesting. I did the Volvo's wiper, which was a little bit interesting, so I probably would leave that in a video. It's a unique part, not just as easy as going to the auto parts store or something. It was a rear wiper. I put up whiteboard LEDs, which just means there's LEDs behind my translucent whiteboard now. The Goldwing's air compressor was worked on. This would definitely go in a video today. I had issues with the Oldsmobile, like you saw in that intro there. That'd definitely go in the video, of course. My mom sent over some videos of my dad working on some lofts at the shop, which was kind of interesting, but also, again, it wouldn't go in the video today. I mean, it might go in the outro, kind of like what I did here, but I don't know. There's just so much that I cut out of these videos these days. This first video of 2023 was still back when I was getting just about 0 views from like family and friends and that sort of thing. This specific video having 19.
Welcome to this week's video. This week, I don't figure out what's wrong with this. I don't get the Crown Vic started, but then I do get the Crown Vic started. I get this Volvo started. I get Leah's Kia started. I get the Outback started. And you might be asking yourself, why is that something to be proud of? I'll tell you why. The lows this week were about -5 in Spokane, and the highs were only like a few degrees each on some days.
On to the second video. This one got almost double the views of the first one at 35. First one, again, only had 19. This video is called Trying to Start All of My POS Cars in Record Low Temperatures. We actually had really low temperatures last year in Spokane, -10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is probably like, what, -25 Celsius? I actually don't know. I just know that -40, they're the same, so it's somewhere in there. There's actually also a natural gas issue, which I'm not a proponent of natural gas. Heat pumps are freaking incredible technology, but I'm renting right now, so I can't do anything about it. So actually this shop and the house is heated with natural gas, so we were chilly. The final interesting thing in this video was Volvo final inspection prep. We were getting ready for the final inspection. Welcome back to this week's video. This week we got some snow, and that means I had some fun. And then I had some more fun. And then I had some more fun. And then I think I might have had some more fun. But more importantly, I actually got the Volvo inspected. Moving on to the next video, we're maintaining views. This one got 34 compared to the last one's 35. This one was titled Finally Snow in Spokane, featuring the XC70 Inspection. And honestly, it's more like the XC70 Inspection featuring snow in Spokane. There's a really cool time lapse of the snow falling. Take a look here. And there's also some kind of interesting, but I wish I'd filmed it better, footage of the Crown Vic hooning in the snow. That's kind of half the reason I bought that car, was to have fun in the snow. And it does a great job of that. There's also a huge compilation in this video of me hooning the Outback in the snow. You should go check out the whole thing, but here's a little clip. And like I mentioned earlier, the XC70 was inspected in this video. I didn't really film it because I didn't want to make the cops or anyone there feel uncomfortable, but I did record the audio, and it's kind of interesting if you want to go listen to it. Welcome to this week's video. What you're watching right now is a time lapse of the snow melting. Unfortunately, it didn't stick around for long. I mostly worked on the Volvo this week, though I got some done on the Oldsmobile, and I did a little bit on the Crown Vic. Looks like the snow is almost melted, so let's get right into it. Moving on to the last video of January, and man, my channel fell off at this point. I only got 17 views on this one. This one, the highlight was trying to figure out what was wrong with that big cream-colored blob back there. It was the starter. I didn't actually replace it in this video though, but we figured out what was wrong. That was the highlight, but the majority of the video was actually spent on buttoning up Volvo things, figuring out just what needed to be done, doing things. Just a lot of small stuff on the Volvo. Welcome to this week's video. This week, you're gonna see an obscene amount of cables. Just a lot of cables. I've got cables in my living room, I've got cables in my cars, and I worked on all of them. Technically, the Volvo's taillight has a cable, so I'm gonna throw that into the same category too. On Sunday, instead of actually being productive, I make myself feel like I'm being productive by making a list. And now we move on to February. And this video it's titled Cable Management. It's more interesting than you'd think. Who's thinking? It certainly wasn't me when I made this video. Yeah, the standards were a little lower last year. Needless to say, this one only got 15 views, so hey, I guess I'm, maintaining the last week's. But in addition to cable management, we did do some more work on the Volvo, just some small things, as well as the Crown Vic. That's about it. Well, this week's a bit of a short one. I didn't have much going on, but I promised myself I was gonna upload every week, so here we are. This week, I got a new thermostat. So exciting. I fixed my wing for the 4th time. I went through a scavenger hunt for my own vehicles, which is just a fancy way of saying I got new insurance cards and had to distribute them. And then finally, I investigated the Volvo's parking sensor issues. The next video, this is another great example of my standards a year ago. It's called I completed a scavenger hunt for my own vehicles, but it also included stuff like installing a thermostat, wow, and repairing my LG Wing, which this is my phone. It's really unique. It actually hasn't failed because of this hinge mechanism. It's failed because I slammed it in the hood of the Volvo. But again, why did that go in a video? That's not interesting. At least I can't make it interesting. So what I meant by when I said I went on a scavenger hunt for my own vehicles, that just actually means that I had a bunch of paperwork like the registration and tabs and stuff, and so I went and put that on all my vehicles and made a video out of it for some reason. Near the end, I also spent about 3 to 4 minutes of the video, which is quite a large percentage. This is only like a 10-minute video on the Volvo XC70's parking sensors. And if you've been around for a while or even just watched the rebuild video that came out last year, you know I spent a long time on those stupid parking sensors.
Welcome to this week's video. This week I get some new hardware to replace my old sketchy network attached storage. I spend way too long doing a bad job of polishing the Volvo's headlights, and then I drive the car across Washington State.
And holy crap, my channel blew up again. The next video got 31 views. In this video, I drove the XC70 all the way across Washington State, but we actually spent most of the time working on the Volvo. I popped the headlights out of the Volvo, replaced all the bulbs, and tried and failed to polish them. Needless to say, we did make it across the state. The Volvo did great, and I would say that that's actually my second comfiest trip across the state. My uncle has a Buick that has heated and cooled seats as well as adaptive cruise and massaging seats. That's got to top it for the most comfortable trip across the state, but the Volvo was a close second. Well, it wasn't that close, but it was a second. Keep in mind that most of the times I drove my RSX across the state, which was fun, but not very comfortable.
Welcome to this week's video. This week it's a bit of an exciting one. I was back on the west side at my family's property, which meant I could test out the off-roading prowess of the Volvo XC70. It might not have gone completely as planned. I also wanted to test out a hammock setup that I hadn't really used before in the rain, which I got to do, and that was incredibly cozy and comfy.
This might be a reason to hammock camp instead of tent camp.
After all that fun, I worked hard setting up some posts with my dad, then I drove the Volvo back across the state, even after all that abuse.
All right, moving on to the last video of February, which was actually kind of a huge one, relatively. Again, it got 75 views. It's titled Off-Roading a Volvo XC70 and Hammock Camping in the Rain. And that's a pretty descriptive title. That's about what we did. If there's any extra time, I'll put some clips in from both of those videos because this was actually a really good video. But otherwise, you'll just have to go watch them. I got the Volvo stuck in the mud a couple of times, and this was my first time ever hammock camping, and actually the first time camping on the channel at all. Even if it wasn't really an adventure, I was just camping out of the quad, you know, probably a 10-minute quad ride from the cabin. But I do think this is one of my first videos that I really like that I'd probably go back and watch myself. So I guess, hey, if you're trying to watch through the whole channel, maybe start with this one.
Welcome to this week's video. This week is NAS heavy. For those that don't know, NAS stands for Network Attached Storage. I've been wanting to build one of these for a long time. I've been dealing with a sketchy Windows setup with a USB hub and a bunch of USB hard drives, and it never worked quite right, not even to mention permissions. I could rant longer. Anyways, thanks to these videos and me being a data hoarder that wants to back up all of the raw footage that I take, I'm finally able to justify spending the money on one. So I get deep into that and pretty much set up the whole thing this week. It didn't leave time for much else, not to mention I wasn't feeling too great, but I did work on our new free tandem bike and selling a couple of cars of mine.
And moving on to the next video, I might just take that back. In this video, we actually built the NAS. I didn't realize earlier that we had just started on the NAS. I just had the hardware. So I spent, it looks like the first, oh no, this video is just NAS. That's, yeah, it got 18 views. Near the end of this video, it's a little interesting though. We do list the RSX and the Outback for sale at the same time. The Outback I sold, I think, within a couple of months, and the RSX maybe within a few, maybe 4. Well, at least that one was quick. Moving on to the next one. Welcome to this week's video. This one's gonna be a short one. All I do is replace that turn signal right there, so this thing is street legal again. This was a really short one. I was just replacing a turn signal on the Shadow. It got 20 views. I wasn't expecting it to do well, but I ran out of time. I ran out of things to do, so I just made a really short video on the Shadow. All right, today we're finally gonna get to the Oldsmobile, get that thing back on the road, fingers crossed. The next video, about halfway through March here, got the most views at this point on my channel, 151. I think it's partially because I titled it Old Cars Are Almost as Much Pain as New Cars, which, I mean, is kind of true, but at least you don't have to deal with computers, I guess. This is the video where I did replace the starter. I had some issues with it. I had to pull it back out and swap over the solenoid from the original starter to this new starter. Yeah, it did not go smooth. That's actually kind of a good one. It's just, you know, a nice cohesive. I'm trying to replace the starter and I'm having problems.
This week I'm dealing with a couple of first world problems. I need to reorganize my cars so I can drive all of them on any sort of whim that I might have. This is a sort of fun problem to have. However, the other problem is very much not fun. I'm so tired. The previous owner of this Volvo and Volvo themselves both created this problem for me. The previous owner by opting to have parking sensors installed on their car. Volvo by making it impossible to diagnose when one of them breaks. I deal with those. I spend a long time dealing with those. I cut out a lot of it, and this video is still this long.
In next week's video, it went viral. 343 views, so I mean, viral is relative, right? It was titled, Previous Owner Should Have Left This Option at the Dealership, and I actually forgot to even make a thumbnail for this, so it's just the default one, and well, people clicked on it. That option I was talking about was the parking sensors, so in this video, I spent a lot of time working on the Volvo's parking sensors. There's also some other stuff that I totally would never put in a video these days, like a 3D print that I was happy with, an update on the NAS, as well as just a car shuffle, like literally just me moving around some cars. I mean, that's not really all that interesting.
Welcome to this week's video. This week I got a little bit of fixing and a little bit of diagnosing done on the Oldsmobile, and I got a little bit of diagnosing and a little bit of fixing done on the Crown Vic.
Moving on to the first video of April. This one is titled, I Don't Really Learn How to Adjust a Carb. That's in reference to this old thing over here. This is the only carbureted vehicle, well, aside from the Shadow, I'm talking about the Oldsmobile. It needed a little bit of adjustment. The idle tuned up mainly, especially when it was cold. I also discovered a coolant leak in the Oldsmobile that I still have not fixed. I discovered the Volvo's power steering leak, which again, I have still not fixed. That seems to be a theme with me. I fixed the issue with the Crown Vic's light bars, some other miscellaneous stuff, but yeah, that's about it. This video did 66 views, so you know, I mean, not too bad, but not quite the virality that was the previous week's video.
Welcome to this week's video. This week, the big highlight is taking the Volvo camping up in the woods. But before we can do that, I need to get it put back together.
Oh man, and this was the favorite video I made at this point last year, and the views kind of reflected that. It's got 650 views. It is the Volvo XC70 snowy camping video. Though there is still something in this video that I never do today. We actually started off working on the Volvo, and I even did a little bit with my skateboard. I would cut that out and put that in some other video these days. However, once we got on the road, the video was really good. We did a little bit of off-roading, got to camp, set up. It snowed overnight, and we woke up to a winter wonderland. I recently sold my Subaru Outback, which I bought from a salvage auction and rebuilt. I also just finished rebuilding a Volvo XC70 that I also bought from the same salvage auction at the same time. And I wanted to just film this quick little video to go over how much I spent on them and how much I made on the Outback and how much I think I could probably make on the Volvo. So I'm going to pull up spreadsheets on my phone to see what I spent on them. The next video is actually sort of an intermediate video, which I don't think I'll ever really be doing again. At this point, I didn't think this video was really big enough to be a full like Friday video, though I was also putting out stuff on a NAS and cable management, so I don't know what this guy was thinking. But it's essentially a cost breakdown of the Outback and the Volvo's rebuild costs. If you're interested in that, you should definitely go watch this, but overall the video is kind of dry. So it did get 93 views though, so a little better than some stuff.
Welcome to this week's video. This week I'm doing a little bit of solo hammock camping with the Volvo on the way to get some parts from IPD Performance in Portland. I live in Spokane, so that's a bit of a drive, but I'm just coming over here to visit my family anyways, so might as well get the parts while I'm here.
Moving on to the next video. This one actually got quite a few views at 322. This is solo hammock camping with my rebuilt XC70. Rebuild in quotes because it barely needed any work, though it was true. This video and the next one were actually kind of interesting. I was gonna have to pay about $60 to $80 in shipping or something ridiculous to get the skid plate for the Volvo as well as some other parts to Spokane from Portland, where IPD Performance is. And so instead of that, I just went over and visited my family for a week, which my job allows me to work from home for that long, and stopped in Portland to pick up the parts, camping along the way. The reason I camped instead of just went down and grabbed them is because it would have been about an hour and a half round trip to go get them, but it was only 45 minutes out of my way if I went there on my way. So I camped outside of Portland just so I wouldn't have to do that out and back trip. I could just do it on my way. This is a really good video, I think. It was the first time I ever hammock camped in the wild. Of course, earlier I hammock camped at our property. And honestly, in this one, I don't think I included any stuff that should have been left out. So it'll be interesting to see where the last video is that I include stuff that shouldn't have been in the video. It might be this one.
Welcome to this week's video. This week I take my Volvo XC70 off-roading, probably where no Volvo XC70 has ever been before, and I also take it camping right next to a functional viaduct. Before I can get out there and have fun though, I had to do a timing belt job and install a skid plate on this thing though. There are timestamps down below though if you want to skip to the fun part. Let's get right into that timing belt.
The next week's video, it got 558 views and it's titled Functional Viaduct Hammock Camping. And that was accurate. I hammock camped next to a viaduct. It was really cool. I've been wondering what that viaduct up there was for years, and well, I found out. I was shocked to discover that it's still in service. Oh, this is another example of something that I would have put in a different video. We did the timing belt in this video to start with and then drove it across the state. I'm not entirely unhappy with this because it kind of adds some suspense. Like, we just swapped the timing belt. Are we gonna make it home? There's nothing crazier than doing a major piece of maintenance and then driving for 6 or 7 hours. In addition, I also got some great off-roading footage in this video, especially considering this was still the Volvo in its stock form. No lift, no tires yet. Yeah, that's a really good video. Go watch it if you haven't seen it.
Welcome to this week's video. This is a bit of a quick one. The big event is selling my RSX. Other than that, I also tidied up my shop and got some new tires on the Crown Vic that I'm super excited about.
The next week's video is pretty short. It's titled Why I Sold My Type S and Baja Boss Crown Vic. That is pretty much the entire video. It's why I sold the RSX and getting the new Baja Boss tires on the Crown Vic.
Yeah, you read the title right. I'm gonna lift this car right here with about $20 in filament and these 4 3D printed parts.
Moving on to the first video of May, I 3D printed a lift kit for my XC70 for 30 bucks. And yeah, that's about what it sounds like. This video did huge. If you're watching this one, you've probably already seen it. It now has 1.4 thousand views. This was a really good video. This is kind of where I started figuring out that when you make a video on YouTube, you really need to have a cohesive idea and a story to tell rather than just throwing all your random stuff in there and hoping it kind of comes together. I do say that this video is great because it's like a cohesive idea, but I did leave in a bunch of stuff that I would have cut out today. Like, we went to the racetrack at State Line Raceway in Idaho. So yeah, I still hadn't completely figured it out, but I was definitely a step in the right direction. Oh, and I should mention that I actually thrashed to get this video done. I don't think I had it done. I don't think I had the lift kit installed until Tuesday night, and then I didn't get the off-roading footage until Wednesday morning. And these videos go out on Friday, so I think I must have edited this video on Wednesday night because I usually am busy on Thursday. So yeah, I thrashed to get this video out, but obviously it was kind of worth it.
Welcome to this week's video. This week I properly timed the olds, I purchase a new trailer, and I attempt to align the Volvo. After all that, a sneak peek of next week.
Moving on to the next video, this one's actually kind of a good grab bag. I timed the olds, which I'd never done before. I'd never adjusted the timing on it. Well, I had adjusted the timing on a car, but I'd never done it with a timing light. That's a little redneck, isn't it? That did help the Oldsmobile to run better. I also did an alignment on the XC70. I spent a lot of time on the Goldwing trying to get the headlight to shut off when you started it so it'd start better. Got a new trailer, a utility trailer, which has actually been huge. Not necessarily for the channel, but just for me being able to haul stuff and not needing a truck still. This one did okay. It got about 230 views.
Welcome to this week's video. This week I get some new tires on the Volvo as well as replacing its tie rod and getting the front end aligned. Then I get some work done on the Goldwing, including spark plugs and fixing the headlight not turning off.
Moving on to the next one, and we got another viral hit here, guys. It got 485 views. This one was titled, I spend all of my free time trying to repair a trashed Goldwing. And that was kind of true. I did spend all of my time trying to repair that Goldwing and eventually sold it, still broken, for $1,000, 500 bucks less than what I paid for it in the first place. In addition to that, we got the new tires, the BF Goodrich KO2s on the XC70, took it for some abusement, and I guess I did another alignment on it. Jeez. I also appear to have ridden the Goldwing in a freaking rainstorm, so that was a decision.
Oh, it's a little wet.
This week is exciting. We took the Crown Vic for the first time camping on the channel. I've done it before, but never before since I've started this channel. It goes great. It's a lot of fun. But first, we have to do something which is very boring, and trust me, I'm just as disappointed as you are. We have to do some stuff with the Goldwing.
Ah, yes, and the channel falls off again. We've got 131 views in the next video. I was actually pretty disappointed about that. Not like really, because that's kind of how YouTube is, even at my scale, but more because I just thought this was a really good video and it deserved more. I don't remember what it was initially titled, but now it's titled, What It's Like to Overland in an Old Cop Car. And it is pretty much what it says on the tin. We took the Crown Vic overlanding. This was like the first video where I had my drone, so I got some incredible shots. I also crashed it and then stopped getting incredible shots, but overall I think the video was really good, really well filmed and really well put together. And I think this is kind of where my videos started getting more professional. I don't want to use that word because we're still far from it. The drone really helped the production quality, as well as the 360 camera that I have now. I think I've only used that on like a video or two.
Welcome to this week's video. This week I get some work done on my vehicle, specifically the Goldwing and the Volvo. That's about all I do this week.
Moving on to the next video, and man, if you thought we fell off last week, this one only has 70 views. I should probably just quit right now, to be honest. In this one, I spent a long time on the Volvo XC70. We were having an issue where it would kind of surge, like you step on it, which I oh so often do, and it would just kind of cut out. So I replaced the fuel filter, the fuel pressure sensor, and the spark plugs. And one of those things fixed it. I should have probably tested it between each one to figure out which one. I also discovered where the power steering fluid on the Volvo was leaking from and decided I would ignore it because it looked like a lot of work. That's a goal of mine to get done this year at least. I did a little more work on the Goldwing, as I've said like 10 times at this point. Like I said, I spent a lot of time on that bike and never got to enjoy it. I also dropped it in the driveway, which, hey, at least it wasn't in an intersection.
I can give some excuses. I was turning, started to tip, tried to turn further to correct it. Didn't have enough steering. That's my number one excuse.
That was about it. Let's hope the next video had a few more views.
Welcome to this week's video. This week we're getting the Volvo out into the woods. For the first time since we've installed the 3D printed lift kit and some BF Goodrich KO2s. Before we can get into the woods though, we need to check a power steering fluid leak. Wait, something isn't right. Ah yes, there we go. Now I'm in the right outfit.
Huh. That was easy to go inside.
Oh wow, and look at him go. He's already getting started.
Oh, and it did. I remember this one. This was me taking the 3D printed lift kit to the test, but also doing a little bit of hammock camping out in the backcountry of Idaho. This one was still before I decided I wanted to visit standing watchtowers, but we did end up finding a really incredibly beautiful location. Yeah, this was a really good video. I like dragged trees out of the way with the Volvo. The camping location was picturesque. You should definitely go check this out if you haven't seen it. It did end up getting 725 views. Yet another viral hit from yours truly, Joel Kalich.
Welcome to another weekly video. This one comes in a bit of a lull between last week's Volvo adventures and next week's gambling. When I say gambling, I don't mean going to a casino. I mean we're doing the Gambler 500. This is my second year doing it. I'm super excited to have better plans and get out there and just have a lot of fun. Enough about next week's video though. This week I fixed the Goldwing. I show off the final version of the coffee caddy that I started working on in last week's video. It's more exciting than you think, I promise. It's really cool. I'm super proud. And then a quick little skateboard ride over to pick up the drone part. Look at those clouds over there. I might get very wet, but I'm still gonna do it. That's right, I got the part. Hopefully I'll have my drone fixed for the Gambler video so we can have some sick footage. I was super bummed to not have it on the Volvo video, but that's what happens when you break your drone on the first time you ever take it out. Anyways, this might be the longest intro I've ever done for one of the shortest videos I've ever done. So let's get right into it and start working on that Goldwing.
However, in the next video, again, I fell off. I mean, it's just, you know, you might as well unsubscribe now. But this video only got 38 views. It was in the lull between a camping trip and the Gambler 500. So I really didn't do much except prepare for the Gambler 500. I did manage to fix my drone in this video a few days before the Gambler 500, which is obviously crucial. I really wanted to use it in that video, and I did a lot. And I also worked, say it with me, I worked on the Goldwing. Shocker.
Welcome to the Gambler 500 video.
The next video, as I alluded to, was the Gambler 500 video, and this one I'm still stoked on. This is just an incredible video. This is one of the first videos that I knew was coming and like properly planned for, and was like, this is going to be huge on the channel. And actually it hasn't got the most views or anything, but I think it is one of the better videos. If you're considering doing a Gambler 500, it's a really good overview. Man, that was a fun time, right up until the Crown Vic broke and we had to drive home at about 40 miles an hour. That stupid car still isn't fixed. We'll get into that more more a little later. There's not much more to say. Just go watch that video. It's so good. I almost forgot to mention it has 751 views.
Welcome to this week's video. I really wanted to get started on the Crown Vic after I broke it on the Gambler 500, but we already had plans to go camping, so this week's video is a camping video. We get a really nice site on the river, and then we get a really nice campsite out by the beach.
Moving on to the next video. This one was actually a sleeper for me. I did not expect it to do well at all, but it actually was one of the better performing videos at launch on my channel. It has 1,000 views right now, and it's titled P&W Camping, Kalaloch and Hidden Gem Willows Campground. A little bit of behind the scenes, I actually did use generative AI to help me come up with that title. It does sound a little generic, but hey, sometimes generic is what you need to get people to click on your stuff. I wasn't planning on filming this. I just brought my camera gear because I was like, hey, maybe I'll want to film something. But then I had Leah point a phone at me on the way over, and I filmed the night of camping, and then I filmed Kalaloch, and well, it obviously went well and resonated with people. I think people like the idea of seeing a campground that was like underutilized. That campground was pretty empty, and we had a site right on the river. And then also Kalaloch. That's a huge draw. That's a huge known campground. Kind of the opposite of the other one. It's not a hidden gem. It is just a gem. But I'm still not entirely sure why it blew up. And by blew up, again, that's all relative.
Welcome to this week's video. I'm gonna look at this thing, see if I can figure out what's wrong. If you haven't seen the video where I broke it when I did the Gambler 500,
We're gonna hang out here for a while and wait for the engine to cool down and then give it a restart to see if the transmission will give us all of our gears back, because I think it's stuck in second, which would not be good for the 6-hour drive home we have planned.
go watch that first. That's a really good video.
And again, the channel fell off. My channel fell off in 2024. Is that the title of this video? Maybe it is, actually. This is the first video where we dived into trying to diagnose the issue on the Crown Vic, and we're gonna have a couple more videos on this, but spoilers, it didn't work. I did find an issue, but apparently it was not the issue, and so I have yet to take that into a shop. It needs to happen, but procrastination is one hell of a drug.
Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, there's chapters down below. Jump right ahead to the thing you saw in the title. But if you're interested, I've got to do some work on the Crown Vic first. We broke this thing on the Gambler video. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. It's my favorite video I've made. Whatever you choose to do, let's jump right into it on the Crown Vic.
To conclude July, there's actually kind of a huge video here. It's where I got scammed by someone on eBay with a fake Volvo Diagnostic scanner. You should go watch the full video for the context, but essentially I got scammed. It was not an accurate description. eBay made the seller take it back even though the seller didn't accept returns. The seller actually was quite rude to me, as many scammers are when they get caught in the act, and they told me that it was my fault. So I spent hours on this, a whole week. There was no way I wasn't going to make a video on it, and it did pretty well. It got 370 views. It was a little clickbaity, and I actually did do a stupid thumbnail face for this one, but yeah, that was a nightmare.
Welcome to this week's video. We're going to start off this week with a little bit of bike maintenance. You saw us pick these up in last week's video, and now I'm gonna give them a little bit of a tune-up.
Next week's video, again, I fell off. The views, they are just down. But 142, not bad. And this video was titled Car Guy Attempts Bicycle Maintenance, because I got these new bikes and they needed some work, and it was a lot harder than I thought it'd be, honestly. So it kind of was like, this would be really easy on a car, but on a bicycle it's hard, especially like bleeding brakes. I can do that with my eyes closed on a car. On a bike, it's just a lot more finicky. I also did a little bit more diagnostics on the Crown Vic in this video. Again, like I wouldn't combine those concepts anymore. I'd just save the Crown Vic footage for later and make the video all about bicycles these days.
Welcome to this week's video. This week we are going camping, and we find an absolutely incredible, if a little bit windy, camping spot. We don't know it yet, but you're watching a sneak peek right now.
Moving on to the second video of August. This video was huge, actually, and there's a really cool story that I am going to tell in a minute. It's called My Lifted XC70 Barely Made It Up Here. And here is talking about a watchtower, a beautiful top of the mountain watchtower. And before I tell you the view count, I do want to tell you the interesting story part of this. There's a creator who's been an OG YouTuber forever called Jax Films. You might have heard of him if you watch much YouTube. He recently started a little side project criticizing creators who recycle content, who steal content from like TikTok and just re-upload it to YouTube with the guise of it being a reaction video, and really their reaction is adding nothing. Like they'll just watch the TikTok and then be like, haha, That's crazy. And then move on to the next one. Like, that's not adding anything. This is just content theft. Anyways, this guy is also trying to promote ethical reaction, where you like reach out and get permission from the content creator to react to their stuff. And so he does that, and I submitted my video to be reacted to, and well, he featured it on his channel. I gained about 30 to 40 subscribers, which one of you statistically might be watching this video right now. Thank you so much. And it actually bumped the views on this video from about 300 to 400 up to 673. So shout out to Jack's Films, as if he needs it. Like I said, he's an OG YouTuber, but it is an interesting story in the history of this channel. And besides that, this is also a great video. That's why I submitted it at the time to be reacted to. This was what I thought was the best video at the time. And it really kind of was. Like, it's just a camping trip going up to this watchtower. It was beautiful. It had some off-roading with the XC70. It had some exploration getting to the watchtower. So yeah, that was a really good video. One of my favorites.
Welcome to this week's video. This week I'm starting off by doing some bicycle maintenance. Hopefully a little more successfully than last time I did this.
Let's move on to the next one, which we're back on bicycles. This one got 108 views. Again, I fell off. This channel's like a roller coaster. I mean, how are you guys not vomiting everywhere? Oh, that was a dumb joke. But this video is titled, I ended up with 3 extra bikes. Can I profit off of them? And it got 108 views. And the short answer to that question is, yeah, actually, I accidentally, well, intentionally bought a bike that I ended up not needing because we found a deal on 2 bikes, and I made 50 bucks on it. I fixed it up a little bit. I bought it with flat tires, and I filled those up, obviously, the simplest thing, and I made 50 bucks. So that was kind of where the title for this video came from.
Welcome to this week's video. This week is a Crown Vic special. We're gonna try and figure this thing out, or I'm gonna be sending it to the mechanics to get diagnosed.
Continuing into the end of August, this video is, if I can't fix my Crown Vic in this video, I'm giving up. And I wasn't kidding. I didn't figure it out in that video. I have given up. Unfortunately, I've also given up on getting it into a shop like I said I was going to, but hey, it wasn't clickbait. I put it back together with the new transmission. It was a case connector. It was full of transmission fluids, so that would have caused issues with the electronic signals. I still think it's a wiring issue, but I just cannot find where it is. But yeah, that video is sort of a bummer, and it's still a bummer because I've been procrastinating on getting that thing properly fixed. I think once I get it fixed, I will be selling it actually, so really I just should get that over with.
Welcome to this week's video. This week we're starting off with a bit of a bike ride. I was just kind of bored this evening, so I thought I would just run down to the river, play some Steam Deck, enjoy the outdoors for a little bit. But first, we have to make one very important stop.
Moving on to the last video of August. This one was 3 minutes and 26 seconds long, and you might be looking at most of my videos and be like, that's crazy short, Joel, and you'd be very correct. This was me scrambling to make anything at the end of August because I was preparing for the next video, which is huge. We'll get to that in a second. So I just hopped on my bike at night and went down to the river, Spokane River, and played some Steam Deck, and it was really cool and cozy. And honestly, I think this video is worth 3 minutes and 26 seconds of your time, but I can see why it didn't perform very well. It's not like my usual stuff. One of my friends actually rated it dark out of 10, and I think that's the most accurate thing ever.
Welcome to this video about rebuilding a Subaru Legacy Outback, taking it from the Copart auction where it had been totaled by insurance to street legal. This was my first salvage title rebuild, and I'm really excited to share the process I went through as a complete amateur.
So I did say that these videos were going to be huge. I was preparing for them, right? However, the next 2 videos were not this road trip because I was on the road trip. I couldn't release the videos while I was on the road because I'm not set up for that. So I actually pre-edited a couple of recap videos, a recap of rebuilding the Outback and a recap of rebuilding the Volvo. The Outback video went up first in September and actually had pretty good views. It has 904 views right now. I titled it, I made $800 rebuilding a car on my first try. And that's true. This video was actually only 20 minutes long, even though it's the complete rebuild, because I started rebuilding that car before I started a YouTube channel. I bought these cars, the Volvo and the Outback, in early October of 2023, and my first video was in late November of 2023, and those early videos were, of course, not very good.
Welcome to this video about rebuilding and modifying my Volvo XC70, taking it from the Copart auction where it had been totaled by insurance to street legal to lifted and off-road capable.
So that Outback video did pretty well, but it did not do near as well as the rebuild of the Volvo XC70. This video was an hour and a half long nearly, and it now sits at 8.4 thousand views. It is the most viewed video on my channel. The second most being a video from like 6 or 7 years ago before I started doing this of my RSX with the cutout open and closed. If you want a recap of the Volvo, I guess go watch it. Though I imagine if you're seeing this video, you've definitely watched that one. So those were the first 2 videos of September while I was out of town. I had obviously pre-edited them. I spent a lot of time doing that before we left. But the actual things I was doing in September was...
Welcome to this week's video. This is an exciting one. We're doing the Bowron Lake Circuit. If you haven't heard of it, it's a circuit of lakes all connected by a few portages, but mostly rivers and channels. It takes about a week to complete, and we are gonna go through that entire week in this video. We had a really good time
canoeing the Bowron Lake Circuit, which is a week-long experience where you canoe around a bunch of lakes. I think I estimated it to be about 75 miles, and it was so much fun. We got incredible weather for September. There's like videos and photos of people doing this, and it's just raining constantly the entire time. They're having to take shelter in like storm shelters. Absolutely crazy. I actually had nothing to do with the planning of this trip. It was all my sister, and it was actually decided to do it in September instead of the middle of the summer due to bugs. Apparently bugs are really bad during the mid-summer months, and well, obviously it worked out for us. We didn't have any bugs to speak of, and it was toasty, really warm. But these two videos were great. You should go watch them. The first one has 536 views, and the second one has 216. There also is going to be a video of the complete trip that'll come out later this year when I'm out of town for whatever trip I'm doing this year. Oh, and before we move on, I want to describe why it's so special. It's actually a kind of a square of lakes. And so you start, you know, up in the corner, and then you paddle all the way around, so you don't have to like backtrack or anything. It's really incredible. I also got my only 5.5 geocache. And if you aren't familiar with geocaching, they're rated on a scale of 0 to 5 for difficulty and for terrain. So difficulty 5, terrain 5 is the top of the top. And I got one of those on this trip. That's enough about the Bowron Lake Circuit. Let's move on to the next video, which was the rest of my 2-week vacation.
Welcome to this week's video. This is an exciting one. We're taking the Volvo XC70 on a 3,000 mile road trip, and that doesn't even count all the off-roading that we did. We stopped in Salt Lake City to see a Sum 41 concert, then headed down to Zion to hike the Narrows, then over to Arches to, well, see some arches as well as do that off-roading I talked about. This is the supercut of part 1 and 2, the entire adventure, all here for your enjoyment in one place. The car did great, but did give us a little bit of drama.
The Moab road trip, and again, I made 2 parts out of this. We took the Volvo 3,000 miles round trip to Moab. We did some off-roading. It was an incredibly good trip. It's kind of crazy to take your only lifeline to get home off-roading on trails like that when you're so far away from home. Like if this thing had broken down, we would have been stranded, and that would have been incredibly bad. We would have had to make a call to Matt's Off-Road Recovery, and he would have laughed at us for bringing a Volvo up on these trails. But fortunately, none of that happened, and it was an incredible trip. There's also going to be a complete video of this releasing later this year when I'm on my vacation for this year, whatever that is. But yeah, this was a great couple of videos. A lot of good off-roading footage and just a lot of good experiences. In the first part, we actually did visit a couple of watchtowers on our way down, and then the second part is really where all the off-roading is. Man, I love this video, and I love the experience. Oh, and I should mention the first one got 1.4 thousand views, and the second one also got 1.4 thousand views. So these videos obviously performed very well, so maybe I should do more road trips with the Volvo, am I right? Though I don't know if I could top Moab, to be honest. So essentially my first half of September was spent off-roading and canoeing, and then the second half was spent editing those 4 videos to get them out in time. That means we don't pick up with my life until I was done editing about halfway through October.
I'm gonna go pick up some shelving that'll hopefully help organize my shop and my storage in my second room there. You've seen me struggle with this in the past if you watched many of my videos, and this shelving looks to be pretty good. It's all metal, but what's exciting about this is it means I get to use the trailer. And I like the trailer, I find it fun.
This video did a lot better than I expected, though it still only got 141 views. The reason it's better than I expected is because I really didn't do much this week. This video is only 5 minutes long, and it's titled, I used my XC70 like a truck to get my shop organized, which is pretty accurate. I went and picked up some shelving units, which are currently in that room over there with my XC70, and I got them set up. And this actually was kind of interesting because I actually picked up the shelving units the night before we left for the camping trip. And so they sat there for a month while I did the camping trip and edited the videos before I set them up. And then I combined obviously the 2 time periods and made one nice kind of cohesive video. And like I've been saying, I learned a lot last year, and this is kind of I just learned hey, if footage doesn't fit, set it aside. Maybe the story will be complete some other time. Yeah, that's about all we did. We did the shelving, we tidied the shop. That's about it.
Welcome to this week's video. This week's gonna be a really fun one. We're going camping twice and seeing Green Day in concert in Portland. And we're not taking this car, we're not taking that car. We're sure as heck not taking either of those 2 motorcycles. We're actually going to be taking, just give it a second.
It's gonna be a great reveal. We're actually gonna be taking that car. And there's one very specific reason for that. And it starts with 35 and ends with miles per gallon. Yeah, that thing gets great fuel economy, and we're just doing a lot of driving on this trip and no off-roading, so it makes sense. Without further ado, let's get right on the road. This might get the award for the most underrated video of the year. It has 65 views. It is called Camping on a Weeknight. Why not? And so this video was so Leah and I could go see a Green Day concert in Portland, and obviously that means we need to drive 6 hours each way. I'll share a cute little story. Green Day is actually kind of one of the ways we ended up meeting. Leah saw the Green Day shirt in my photo and she swiped right. I guess it wasn't that cute, but at least it was short. So yeah, we drove the little Kia halfway across the state and camped in Deschutes State Park, which is one of my favorite state parks just because it's 10 bucks a night and it's right along the highway. It's a really easy place to camp when you're driving from Spokane to Portland. And that was what the title was referring to as well, because this was on a weeknight. The next morning we got up at like 6 in the morning and we drove into Portland. I worked at a coffee shop while Leah visited with her parents before we went to see the Green Day concert that night. And that just meant I had to take a little less time off work. After that, we relaxed at my family's cabin property and then we headed to Ohanapikosh. Ohanapikosh is a beautiful campground up in the mountains of White Pass. And well, obviously other people agree with me because it was full. So we drove up into the woods and tried to find a place to just dry camp. And we did find a place, and it was really cozy and a really nice place to camp. And we saw a lot of other people doing the exact same thing. A lot of Subarus and even a cool van drove past. But I think the camping on the weeknight was interesting. I think the concert was interesting. And I think the camping outside of Ohanapikosh was really interesting. It's kind of like, you know, what happens when it goes wrong. Oh, and did I mention this has 65 views? Like I said, I think this wins the most underrated video of the year award. But yeah, go watch that one. It's really good. I have too many cars and motorcycles and other vehicles. I have that car, that bike, this bicycle, this car, and this car, these skateboards. The past 2 months of videos, I haven't been really around this area. So here's just a little bit of an update of where I am and what vehicles are getting worked on, what we're gonna be doing. And that might sound a little bit boring, but don't worry. I'm going to try and keep it interesting. And we'll also be starting every single one of the vehicles out here if they start. I think they all should, but we'll see. The next week I did a fleet update. I had been so busy with the road trip, the canoeing, the editing those videos, the Ohanapikosh and Green Day concert, that I really just had been away from home a lot in the past few months. And so I made a video on a fleet update. It actually helped me get my stuff together, like figure out like, okay, what needs to be done. I think it's actually still pretty up to date, except for a few things have been fixed since then, and we got rid of the Goldwing. Good riddance. That's about that in a nutshell.
Welcome to this week's video. This week we're gonna try and go check another 7 watchtowers off my list. Trespassers, smile, you're on video, no trespassing, keep out. If you aren't aware, I've been trying to visit every single standing watchtower according to a list I found online, and I don't know how it's gonna go today because I was looking at the snow and it looks like it snowed a little bit over the past week. So we're gonna see how far we make it. What I do know is that we're gonna take 2 ferries to get there, do a bunch of off-roading to get to the towers, if we can even try and do that. This is slippery earth and snot. Holy crap. Is this where the shortcut becomes not any shorter? We're taking my Volvo XC70, which still has a massive power steering fluid leak. Let's get this thing loaded and get on the road.
The next video I think wins my favorite video of the year award. I know there was the gambler video, the road trip video, the canoeing video. Those are all close runner-ups, but this one I think is kind of my favorite. This one is kind of the first video I took with the watchtower idea and ran with it. It's titled Fire Towers, River Ferries, and a Lifted XC70 Snowy Hammock Camping. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I went to, I think, 4 or 5 fire watch towers. I rode on 2 river ferries, and I took my XC70 and camped in a hammock. What more do I need to say? This video ended up being an hour long, even though it was just a weekend camping trip because so much happened. I went on like a 0.65 mile each way hike to get to one of the watchtowers because it was too snowy to get up there in the Volvo. Man, no, this video is just really good. I just really like the flow. I think nowadays I would have cut it down just a little more, but you know, that's always what you say when you watch a video back. If you haven't seen this, it did do 880 views. You probably have, but if you haven't seen this, go watch it. It's one of my favorites.
All right, last weekend was super fun. We went out and got camping. It was a good time, but I did promise in the fleet update video that I was gonna get working on this thing, and I'm happy to announce that it's finally time to fill up the Crown Vic with transmission fluid so I can drive it to the shop instead of towing it.
Bet you thought I was gonna say work on the Loyale. Well, with that out of the way, this thing can go to the shop next week and hopefully finally get back on the road. Let's get to work on the Loyale. Moving on to next week, we are now in the middle of November. This one's titled, My Beautiful 30-Year-Old Subaru Loyale Needs Some Love. And that is true. It still needs some love. It always needs some love. You know what I'm saying? It's an old car. This one did 201 views, which isn't too bad. But I mean, after last week's video, I'm falling off again. Do I make the roller coaster joke again? No? Yeah, I didn't think so. This week, I learned a little bit about vacuum testing because the vacuum climate controls on the Subaru Loyale just don't work. I thought I found the issue in this video. And actually an update that I never really included is that the climate controls still are buggy. They work intermittently. These cars are known for the little button box and the climate controls to be notoriously unreliable, spring vacuum leaks and such. And so it's probably that. And as far as I can tell, there isn't really any way to fix it. So I'm not entirely sure what to do there. I might eventually try to like 3D print some solution or something because I love the climate controls in this car. It's something that when I bought the car, this is nerdy as heck, but when I bought the car, I loved them. They're just so satisfying to press and interact with. Anyways, yeah, we diagnosed that and I thought I fixed it, but unfortunately I have not, and it's still intermittent. Lately, I've just been leaving it on heat, which puts heat on the windshield and the feet, which are usually the places that need it because my feet get cold because the car doesn't seal very well and the windshield needs to be defrosted. But it does mean that the car doesn't feel as warm inside because it's not blasting out the vents. Welcome to part 2 of trying to fix up my old Subaru Loyale. If you didn't see last week's video where I tackled the climate controls, and go watch that first and then come back, but we're gonna hop right into figuring out why there's a squeak up in the front right and there's a little bit of a clunk / rattle in the rear right. That has got to be one of my least favorite jobs that I have to do every winter. We got here tonight for drinking in the shop at Kettle House Brewing Co. Snowblind White Stout. The next week's video is titled Diagnostics is Hard. Part 2,357,291. Obviously, it isn't the 2,357,291st time I've tried to diagnose a car, but I'm sure it's at least the 2 millionth time that someone's tried to diagnose a car, so I think the title fits. And then that was post-pended with my 30-year-old Subaru Loyale isn't cooperating. This was sort of a really small video. I didn't really have all that much for this week, but I tried to diagnose some noises. I did flush out the heater core. These heater cores can get clogged. That's the part where they run the engine coolant through, and then blow a fan over it into the interior to get you warm, and those can get clogged so the coolant doesn't flow very well, and that actually did help a lot. It puts out a lot more heat now, and that's it, I guess. That's all I did for this video. This video got 109 views, so not too bad, but not anything crazy, and that makes sense. I wasn't doing all that much in this video. This week's a bit different. I'm out of town for Thanksgiving, so it's just a compilation of us off-roading that thing. If you're new here, enjoy the footage. If you're not, there's new footage, so you should stick around. Anyways, I do want to talk. No, don't. I'm still talking. Moving on to the last video of November, I was scrambling because I didn't know what I was going to upload. I was going to be out of town for Thanksgiving and I had nothing prepared. And so I made a video and it's titled 93 minutes of my cheap lifted XC70 off-road and nothing else. And that's not clickbait. That's all it was. It was just me editing together all the clips of the XC70 off-road. And apparently this resonated with people. It got 751 views. Maybe they were just skeptical. They wanted to see, hey, is this really clickbait? And well, it wasn't. There is a little bit of a funny story associated with this. I was obviously at Thanksgiving. The video went up automatically on Friday and I realized it was getting quite a few views. I checked it. I forgot to add chapters. And so I sat on my bed. I had my wing open. I had Notepad on one screen and I had the YouTube on the other screen. I played the YouTube video, got the chapter location, wrote it down on Notepad, and then, you know, I went through it all the way until I had all the chapters down because I thought that was important because it was just a released video though. In hindsight, it probably didn't make that much difference. I spent probably like an hour or something on that during Thanksgiving, so, but it was kind of fun. It was a good, you know, excuse to why have a phone with 2 screens. Welcome to this week's video. This is a bit of a different one. This is a bunch of clips that didn't really fit or I didn't feel were good enough to go in any other video, and so well, they're going in this one instead. The first video of December was a grab bag. I really didn't have anything to publish, and I've been collecting some clips that I didn't feel fit into videos, and so I went over those clips in this video. And I kind of did it in this style for the first time, where, you know, I've got the chair, and we're just sitting out here talking, and I think, you know, this improves the quality of the videos a lot compared to just a voiceover. It takes a lot more effort, but I think it really is worth it. But in this video we did 3 things. The first first of which is actually related to the off-roading video. There's another component to that story that I just forgot up until now. I was actually intending to release a video where I took all of these cars from 0 to 60. And I actually still have a prediction board over on my whiteboard over there that you probably can't see. What did I predict? I predicted that the Goldwing would be the fastest because it is a 1500 motorcycle. That thing was fast, even if it didn't run good. Followed by the XC70, followed by the Shadow here, followed by Leah's Kia, actually, her Econo box. I thought it would be faster than the Olds, and then the Loyale, and then the Crown Vic because it was broken and only had second gear. However, that video did not work out. I started with the motorcycles. It took me like 2 hours to get both of them running, and then my phone nearly fell off of the windshield of the Goldwing, and I was just like, screw this, I don't have the time, it's getting dark. So I had to scrap that video. So the footage from that, the failed video, the failed 0 to 60 video, is in this video, this grab bag. I also installed the light bar with suction cups on the XC70, and that video just didn't really fit in. That was for the Moab road trip, and we actually only ended up using it once, but I never really found a good place to put that footage, so it went into this video. The final part of this video was when I took the Oldsmobile to grab like 100 cases of seltzer or something. It was ridiculous. That thing was squatting to the ground. It drove even worse than it usually does. So yeah, this one was just a grab bag. I titled it, I mounted a light bar to my XC70 without drilling any holes. And so I think due to that title in the thumbnail, it got 270 views though. If I remember correctly, the retention wasn't very good because they realized it was, you know, a grab bag video. Usually on this channel, we either go on adventures or work on cars or that sort of stuff. Well, today we're doing both of these things except for two minor changes. The adventure is to my front yard, and the car is this house that I'm renting. Well, you saw the title. We're putting up Christmas lights today, and we're gonna be selling this Goldwing because I really don't want it anymore. And while I love Goldwings, I really don't want this one. I have this massive box here. Oh, I swear that's heavier than last year. And a bunch of stuff in the trunk that I got from Goodwills and Big Lots because Big Lots was going out of business. This one was a bit of a slow one. It got 257 views though because I titled it, I'm selling my 35-year-old Goldwing. Here's why. And so I did in this video talk about why I was selling the Goldwing, and I also went and took photos of it and such. I also discussed my philosophy on listing a vehicle, you know, include all the flaws. Like, I mean, they're gonna figure out anyways, and just be honest, you won't get Joe Schmo showing up and be like, oh, this is in way worse condition than I thought it was. You might be able to scam someone, but hey, I'm not about that. I also put up Christmas lights in this video, which is a yearly tradition on this channel, even though it's only been 2 years. So that was the first video of December. However, the next three are all related. They are all to do with this beautiful green machine back here. Welcome to this week's video. I promised this probably like a month ago now, maybe a little less, but we're separating the engine from this big green thing. We're pulling the engine out of the Subaru Loyale. We pulled the engine, the beating heart, out of this Subaru Loyale. This is my first time ever pulling an engine out of my car. I did it all by myself with a little bit of help from my partner.
Welcome to this week's video. This week is exciting. Well, last week's was more exciting. We pulled this thing out. But this week is the week where we put all the new parts onto it. We're putting on a new clutch, new motor mounts, new transmission mounts, and the main reason for this engine coming out of here, a new rear main seal. This thing would leak about a quart of oil every 100 miles.
And well, I got it out, I got the parts swapped over, and I got it back in, and well, you saw in the intro, it's driving great. It's doing awesome in the snow. The push button 4-wheel drive works.
Welcome to this week's video. This week, we are getting this big hunk of metal right here back into this hunk of metal over here.
I love this car. However, we did not fix the oil leak. It still leaks a lot of oil. I think an EJ engine, which is just a later Subaru engine, is in this thing's future. And pulling the engine has given me the confidence that I can probably do that. Obviously, stuff like wiring would be hard, but I think we could get it done. But that was split into 3 videos, and those were the last 3 videos of the year. Oh, and as far as views go on those, the first one was titled, I removed the engine from my 30-year-old Subaru Loyale, and it got 102 views. The second one was titled, replacing parts on my 30-year-old Subaru Loyale's detached engine, and it got 615 views. And the final one was titled, can I get my 30-year-old Subaru Loyale running again? And it got 122 views. And no, I am not sure why the one where I swapped all the parts over got the most views. That was the least interesting one to me. I would have predicted that the last one where I put the engine back would have gotten the most views, but that isn't how it went down. Well, that is it for 2024. If you want to see me overland this thing next week, I'm really hoping to get camping in this thing. See how that goes. I don't have chains for it yet, so I don't know where we're going to camp, but I'm hoping to get camping. So subscribe if you want to see that. I really am looking for feedback on these recap videos. Like, what do you want to see more of? Do you want to see more of the videos themselves? Do you want to hear more stories? Like, what do you want to hear? What's interesting? I know not many people are going to watch this, so if you are, and if you made it this far, then please leave a comment. Not just for engagement. I do really want feedback on these, because this is my like third attempt to make this video, so I'm not entirely sure how it's going. Actually, no, that isn't true. I'm sure how it's going. It's going pretty poorly. And well, if you did like this format, I guess, or even if you just want to support me making yearly videos, leave a like. It does help out. So I guess that really is it for me now. I will see you next week. So I know I mentioned that I love the sound and feel of the buttons on this car, especially the climate controls. And so while I hate ASMR, we are going to just show off how awesome these things are to play with. First of all, we aren't even going to start with the climate controls. We're going to start with this four-wheel drive button. Press this, it engages the center diff via vacuum. It feels incredible. And then after that, you shortly later hear like a kind of a vacuum noise and a little click. Sometimes a little bit of grinding and a clunk, but hopefully not that. As for the climate controls themselves, just listen to this. That slider just feels so solid. I don't know, but for some reason those buttons just feel incredible. And then the little shh from the vacuum is just, oh, I love it, even though they don't actually work. It's not a good system, I'm saying. I just love pressing the buttons. Bye-bye.